Hey everybody, it's Charles from HumbleMechanic.com. Today taking your questions on stripped bolts, voiding warranties, stuck doors, and more. This is episode 240 of the Humble Mechanic Podcast. Alright, if you want to get a question on the show like this, be sure to email me, Charles, at HumbleMechanic.com, and put question for Charles in that subject. Be sure to ask that question right at the top. Give me some space, then give me the details of the question. Makes it 1,000 times easier. Also, if you don't see your question on a show like this, be sure to hit that quick videos playlist on YouTube or do one question per video. And if listening only is your flavor, these shows are available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google in audio-only format, and of course, you can watch or listen over at HumbleMechanic.com. All right, let's talk about the sponsor of the day, which is CRP Automotive. CRP deals in a ton of OE maintenance and repair parts, timing belt kits, suspension components, and even fluids. In fact, they make the factory DSG fluid for Volkswagen and Audi. So check them out at crpautomotive.com. And one last thing, if you want exclusive content, discounts to places like Black Forest, Eastwood, MT Knives, Sonic Tools, Kerma, TDI, and a whole bunch more, check out the Crew Membership program. Great way to support the show, but more importantly, score some awesome discounts. Links, as always, are down below. I'll cut it there today. Also got a new studio. If you have any ideas on what I should hang on this empty pegboard, drop that down in the comments as well. All right, let's hit your questions. First one up is from Raj. Hey, I'm looking to buy a Polo GT Indian spec and wondered if any tuning of the ECM or changing wheels and tires from factory spec will void the warranty. I'm getting this as my first car and want to make it more fun to drive. Do you have any recommendations for wheels? Thanks, love your videos. Always informative and fun to watch. Well, Raj, thanks for the kind words. So, ECM first. Will that void the warranty? I can't speak to how the rest of world views tuning and things like that. Only really like US market. Officially, tuning your ECM should not, and I stress that word should not void your warranty at all. What it can do, though, is cause complications with warranty. And those are two very different things. Let's say you tune that ECM and all of a sudden your check engine light comes on for a bad cooling fan, right? Who knows why, but we'll use the cooling fan as an example. If they find out your ECM is tuned, they very easily could say, hey, the software has been manipulated. We're not covering this particular problem. But let's say you tune that ECM and, I don't know, you develop a dash rattle. Okay, those two aren't in any way related, so that warranty should still apply to said dash rattle. There's a million other examples as well. Typically, the voiding, and it's not really that the warranty is void, it's that claim, that warranty claim can be denied. So if that cooling fan were an issue and they drew it back to the ECM, they might look and see if your ECM is tuned and deny that claim for that concern. But it should not void your whole warranty. That can change at any time. It can vary manufacturer to manufacturer. And of course, you know, around the world may have different policies as well. You really want to consult. Don't consult the dealer because they don't know, or maybe they do. You're probably going to want to call the manufacturer. They're going to tell you anything's going to void your warranty, so maybe that's terrible advice. I don't really know. It seemed like it was a good idea to talk to the manufacturer before the words came out of my mouth. Raj, ultimately, here's the deal, okay? It all boils down to you got to pay to play. If you want to tune that ECM, my man, tune that ECM. Love every bit of it, but be prepared that you might have to pay for a repair on an ECM-related concern. And that's how we always approached it at the dealership. We had to prove that the modification was the reason that there was a failure, okay? If, let's say, you had a stage 3 performance tune, right? Turbo, all the associated parts, and you blew the factory clutch up. Probably not going to cover it because the clutch wasn't built to hold that horsepower. Stage 3, all the way modification to the stars, right? The 900 horsepower, we'll call it. Radio fails, radio hasn't been messed with, radio should be covered. That was how we approached it. When it comes to wheels, I want to say that won't void any kind of warranty. But that may or may not be true because what happens if you put wheels that are not the appropriate size on it? This causes stress on the suspension and maybe rubbing when you turn the wheel back and forth. You know, that kind of problematic thing wouldn't be covered. But if you straight put, let's say you got 16s on your car now, and you put 17s with the appropriate circumference wheel and tire package, to make sure like your speedometer matches and that. No way that should void anything at all. If it does, find another dealership to take it to, because a lot of dealership guys don't want to mess with things that are modified. And I get it, because like techs aren't really paid extra for modifications. It's a whole big thing. I did another video about it if you guys want to find that video and watch that. But I would say go for the wheels. That's just fine. Find a dealership that's a bit more modification friendly. We were pretty cool. Most of the techs that worked at the dealership were pretty cool about modifications. I'm awesome about it until it starts costing me money. Then I don't like it anymore, but it's cool to see. And as far as wheel recommendations, man, I am terrible. This is the worst question to ask me. Not the worst, but it's at the top of the list. I like OEM wheels, and I like swapping around. So let's say you buy this Polo, maybe a GTI wheel is cool, maybe a Passat wheel, maybe a Tiguan wheel, who knows? Maybe something from the Audi family. That's the way I like to approach wheels. I like to look at what's in the vehicle family and then pull either the exact wheel or maybe a wheel that favors that wheel. For example, my Mark III has Audi TT wheels on it. My B5.5 Passat has B6 wheels on it, so newer generation Passat wheels on it. And my R32 has a wheel that was designed to basically replicate the factory Aristo wheel. It's made by New Speed. Very cool wheel, ultra light. I'm pretty sure 3 of them are bent at this point from potholes and crap like that, which I'm super mad about. But that's my approach to wheels. Everybody's different. Wheels are very personal, so I don't really have many recommendations other than look to the family to get at least, you might not find the right wheel, but maybe draw some inspiration from what a really cool Audi, R8 has wheel-wise, and maybe try and find there. That's my recommendation. If you guys have wheel recommendations, drop it down in the comments. Let's help our man Raj out. And dude, when you get that new car, post a picture over on Facebook so we can all see it. Congratulations, good luck, and I'm looking forward to checking it out. All right, next one up is from William. How do I deal with anxiety when working on cars and stripped/over tightened bolts? Yeesh. Hey Charles, apologize, this will be somewhat longer of a post, so feel free to skim through it. I'm fairly new to working on cars, started with a 1.8 turbo GLI, did valve cover, exhaust, various coolant hoses, and I was very confident. This changed when I got rid of the Jetta and was doing lowering springs on my Mazda Speed, where everything went wrong. Top struts fell apart, even over-tightened a bolt in the strut mount, which I had to drill out. I was changing clutches in a motorcycle and over-tightened the bolts holding the spring in. Had to replace the entire clutch assembly. As I was taking them apart, most of the Phillips head screws started to strip out, so I had to grab them with pliers and crack them loose. Once I got into it, my confidence of fixing it correctly was so low, I just reassembled it and rode with bad carbs. Now I've got a Camaro SS with low miles, excited to do cat deletes. Got started and instantly struggled to break bolts loose from the bottom of the header. Worked for 10 minutes and my anxiety got the best of me, ready to stop working on cars. Don't want to stop working on cars, but need some confidence. Is this kind of stuff typical? All right, there's a lot more that William put in there that kind of revolves around this story of working on a car the first time, right? The Jetta, everything was cool, and then the Mazda went sideways. The motorcycle went sideways. We're worried about the Camaro going sideways. And what are we going to do? And we're freaking out. And dude, I get it. And yes, it happens to everybody. There are jobs that just go as smooth as could be, right? Let's talk about the last couple of jobs that I've done. R32. Some really easy jobs and some challenging jobs. That coolant pipe and the flange that go across the front of the engine, a lot of people really struggle with that. When I was doing it, even videoing it, smooth sailing as you'd hope for, right? Everything went perfect, no issues, everything came out fine, went in fine, no stripped bolts. Fast forward to the Mark V, every job went sideways. The radiator fans, which I've done a million times, never had an issue with it. The vacuum pump, all of it, right? The exhaust was weird. I had to end up drilling out one of the studs. The suspension was completely rusted and had to cut a couple bolts out of the back. This is normal, okay? And stripped bolts happen. Over-tightening bolts is actually super easy to overcome. The easiest way to do it is don't tighten it so tight. And I know that sounds really like, no crap, Charles, we can figure that one out ourselves. So how do we not over-tighten things? We use a torque wrench, and then we know we're tightening it properly, exactly how that system was designed to be tightened down. or we drop the drive of the tool that we're using. So let's say you're tightening those bolts and you're using a 1/2-inch ratchet that's this long. What happens if we snake that down to a 1/4-inch drive that's only this long, maybe 3 or 4 inches? You can snug it up with that and then use your torque wrench, click, click, or buzz flash and get it tightened properly. Those two things will save you so much headache going forward. For me, working on VW's, 1/4-inch drive was the drive that I used all the time. They were the most used drive tools in my toolbox. Now, I'm not using a 1/4-inch drive on a 17mm to take wheels off, but I'm using it for almost everything under the hood, almost everything inside the car, and you have to kind of develop this skill and this feel for these kind of things. You mentioned the Phillips head screws rounding out. First of all, I hate Phillips head screws. Everybody complains about all the specialty fasteners that VW has. Torx bits and Torx screws to me are 1,000 times better than Phillips heads, and like these are held on with Phillips heads, and I'm guessing that a couple of them are probably not super happy from when I installed them. It all boils down to this, man. These things happen, right? Things are gonna break, things are gonna strip. It sucks, it's frustrating, it does rattle your confidence. I know the feeling, and I know every single other person that's worked on more than 1 or 2 cars has dealt with this. Every professional technician on the planet has dealt with a confidence-crushing job or 2 or 100. And I've had more than, well, I feel like more than my fair share, probably exactly my fair share of them, to the point where my mentor, when I was a very young technician, said, Charles, you're gonna be a really good tech one day, you're gonna get a lot of confidence, you're gonna make a bunch of money, and then one day that car's gonna come around and it's gonna eat your lunch. And I know I've told that story a million times, but that's exactly what happens. You get cars that just don't go well, and your confidence and your motivation gets sucked out of you, and it's frustrating, and you don't want to do it anymore, and a lot of people quit, and that's okay. If you want to quit, quit. But for me, I recommend, man, pick the wrench up. So let's say your confidence is crushed, right? You world ended, and you're toast. The next car repair job you do, man, start with something really easy. It may seem stupid, but put a new air filter in your car. Throw a pollen filter in it. I don't know, do something really easy that only requires a couple of tools and start to build that confidence back. Whenever I had one of those really confidence-crushing things happen, like the Rutan transmission that I rebuilt that was missing a seal that I had to completely strip all the way back down, the best thing I could do for myself is game face on, go to town, get your hustle together, whatever motivation techniques you need, and get those wrenches moving again, and that's going to make it better, I promise. It's the whole thing, right? When you fall off a horse, get back on and keep riding. It's that. You gotta keep going. You gotta keep turning those wrenches, or you're never gonna get the confidence back. How else are you gonna get that confidence if you don't start doing jobs successfully, right? Start small, work your way back up to some of those really hard stuff. The more you turn wrenches and the more you develop that feel in your hands of, oh crap, this bolt's about to strip, or even though this is really tight, this doesn't feel okay, or snap, oops, the bolt broke, now what? Get my extractor out, get my drill kit out and drill it, helicoil it, time start it, whatever it is. The best advice I could have for William and everybody out there that's struggling with confidence in fixing cars, dudes, the only thing you guys can do is get back to wrenching. Keep that in the back of your mind. Never forget it, but use that as motivation to keep learning, keep getting better, and keep going. If you get sucked in to that negativity spiral, you're going to struggle to get out. So get back to wrenching, man. That's it. That's all I can tell you. All right, next one up is from Amy. I used your video for changing a door lock actuator for an '07 Jetta, and it worked like a charm. Awesome. Such a fun video and such a fun job to do. On the second rear door, I have a feeling we may change our mind. On the second rear door, the inner lock support broke, and now I can't get the door unlocked from the inside or the outside. I can get the outer button off the door handle, but I can't get to the latch to pop it. I had no problems, but when I locked and unlocked it, it had problems. I can see a piece of metal behind the hole where the button goes, and I can pull the latch, but nothing. I have no idea how to get the door open. Studied everything I can get my hands on. Don't know why the support thing with the spring does that. They do that because they kind of suck, okay? Amy, they work okay when they work great. They suck when they come apart if you don't if you have any little hiccup, they just split and come apart. All right, here, so this is a rear door, which actually makes it a little bit easier. I've had this happen to me a bunch of times. It depends on what's going on is what the approach was. What I always like to do, and you can do this, it sucks, but you can do this. If you can get the back seat out, this makes it a little bit easier. Just the seat bottom, the cushion where your buns go in the back seat. Take that out, super easy to get out. Take the inner door panel off. You can get the inner door panel off with the door shut. This will allow you some access through the carrier in order to get to the latch. I've had luck with taking a long screwdriver onto the latch and just whacking it with a hammer, not this way usually, it's usually this way, and just hitting it with a hammer. Sometimes that jars loose whatever the latch problem is. That's worked really well for me. I've had others where, no joke, Amy, I had to take that screwdriver and I just had to basically destroy the door latch in order to get the door open. Something just gets bound up in that latch and you got no other choice but to destroy it. Be really careful doing this, please. You don't want to miss and go like through the door skin or anything like that. Or you can do what that guy with the Honda did and just cut a giant hole in your door and then reach in and do that. Please don't cut a hole in your door, Amy. There's no need to do that. But that's the thing that I've had that's given me the best luck, is just take that inner door panel off. You can get a screwdriver in there and just wrap on the door latch. Sometimes that undoes it. So what might have happened is the door latch is actually bad and you had the child lock on, and good luck. It's pretty challenging to get that apart, but I've had plenty where I've just had to straight up bust the door latch apart in order to get it to unlatch. It sucks. That's what I've had to do. If anybody else has any other advice of easier ways to get that apart, drop it down in the comments. Let's help Amy out and see if we can help her and others get this done, because I actually get this question a lot, and my advice is usually take the inner door panel off and bust the latch apart, and that works great, especially if you're replacing the latch. Who cares if it comes apart? But maybe somebody has found an easier way to do it. One of you guys has found a little trick to get it unlocked. I haven't, and I've ran into this a bunch of times, but hey, you never know. So if you know, drop it in the comments. Amy, good luck. Hope that helps, either what I had to say, or I really hope someone else has a better idea than just smashing the latch apart. It seems super barbaric, like there's probably an easier way. If you have a scan tool, maybe you can output test that latch. It's kind of a stretch, but it's an option. Or if you know someone local with VACCOM or something like that, they can try and output test that door lock. That might lock and unlock the door, forcing it enough in order to unlock, and you can pop the door open. So Amy, good luck. Hey, do me a favor, guys. Like always with these kind of questions, keep us posted. Let us know what happens, because your issue may help somebody else if you find a resolution to it. All right, last one of the day comes from Ron. Question: I have had noise issues with my 99 Mark III VR6 Jetta as follows. When I accelerate from a stop, I hear a single loud pop coming from the undercarriage. When I performed the VR6 swap about 10K ago, I changed out practically everything on the front end: control arm bushings, ball joints, tie rods, in and out, end links, sway bar bushings. No real noise until now. I've also noticed that on the freeway, when you goose it, the steering wheel wants to go right and the car wants to go left. I've checked the rack and pinion bushings and it's not cracked. So, two-part question. This really only leaves the engine mounts as a culprit. I'm prepared to replace them equipment-wise, but money's tight, so it's an issue. Is the hockey puck fix a reliable and safe alternative? Would you do that on your own vehicle? Thanks so much, Rob. Rob, I probably would not do the hockey puck thing on my car. I think that's going to be way too much vibration back into the car. Yeah, maybe better, maybe worse. I don't know. We need to figure out what's going on though, man. I feel like you probably got a couple of things. Very first thing you need to do before you do anything is you need to get underneath that car and make sure all the bolts are tight. That one pop could be coming from the subframe shifting. It could be the engine torquing back and forth. Could be that front engine mount's completely gone. And what you're doing, if this is the front of the vehicle, when you accelerate, the engine's doing this number and it's popping that front mount up. So you first need to do a full visual inspection and make sure or figure out what is loose, what is worn, what is broken. Did you change those engine mounts when you did the swap? If not, well, that's probably a pretty darn good thing to do. You can look at like Black Forest Industries for some pretty affordable inserts. That's what I'm running on my Mark III. Very little to no vibration in through the cabin. I think I have the yellow mounts, which is like the stage 0.5 mounts. just a little bit stiffer than OEM. You can also look at the OEM mounts, man. I don't think those OEM mounts are that expensive. Just make sure you get them for the VR6. You're gonna wanna look for witness marks, because if it is that engine cracking back and forth, then you're probably hitting something and there's like some paint missing or something like that. Now, when you accelerate, wheel goes right, car goes left. This could be a suspension geometry issue. Was the car properly aligned after it was put back together? Again, visual inspection, make sure everything's happy and healthy, but I'd want to see what the alignment is like before I got too deep into replacing anything. Accelerating and the car wanting to go one way or another is called torque steer, and that may be completely acceptable. You know, without driving it, it's hard to say this is bad or this is good. You know, is it the wheel goes like this, or is it the wheel goes like this and the car goes the other way, right? That's what we don't know. That's what we don't know in text. I don't think that, right, the steering thing on the highway, I don't think that that's going to be engine mounts. It very well could be, because transmission's moving too with that engine. So dude, start with the visual inspection, make sure all your bolts are tight, make sure that they're torqued properly, meaning when the suspension, certain components need the suspension loaded, so the car has to be on the ground to torque, and some don't. I know on my R32 that we redid the front, I'm now getting a popping noise in the front that I wasn't getting before. A couple of reasons. One, I didn't replace all the bolts that I should have, and we probably need to reset the torque and make sure that like the poly bushing's not binding. The poly bushings may need to be lubricated too. It's just started a couple days ago, so I haven't taken the time to dive in. So dude, as always with this kind of stuff, visual inspection, you really want to look, spend the time to find the problem, listening for noises, having a buddy help you out, maybe put a GoPro underneath the hood with some light and see if you can see that movement, rather than just throwing parts at it without any kind of inspection. This may be worth taking to a shop and having them check out, but do those couple of things before you spend any money, and you might not have to worry about doing the hockey puck thing, because you might find it's an easy solution, or maybe you do need engine mounts, or maybe something's just not torqued right. No way to know 100% for sure with text. Even with a video, it's really hard to watch a video and say, oh, here's your problem. So do those visual inspections first, man, and then worry about what parts you got to replace. Don't go into this job thinking, I need to find a bad motor mount. Go into the job thinking, I need to find where this noise is coming from. Because if you think, I need to find a bad motor mount, you're probably going to find one, and you're probably going to put one in, and it may or may not fix it. I don't know, but don't go in with that mindset. Go in with the mindset of solving the problem, not trying to find that a part you think is bad is actually bad. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up there. Questions, comments, drop them down below. You like the video, thumbs up, always appreciate that. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on social. Also, audio-only podcast is on iTunes, Stitcher, Google, and of course, over on the blog. Let me know in the comments what we should hang up on this pegboard. With that, I'm out. Have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you guys next time.